Working as a publicist, what does it actually take to become a professional communicator and to work with the biggest brands like Alibaba and other international companies? Now, my name is Scott Bartnick. I'm the co-founder of Otter Public Relations. I employ over 70 publicists. I've done literally thousands of interviews for communication professionals, and I see a lot of trends in the space. Now, first, we have to understand where the space is going, and there's a little bit of fear that the space is shrinking, and I completely disagree with that. But the realm of what people consider media is changing. Media went from newspapers, magazines, radio, and now is shifting into YouTube, Instagram, social media, different platforms, and it has to marry both pieces of that. Now, in school, you learn one way to do communications and to be that communications professional, and that's a very key part of your foundation. But typically, I don't hire based on the education or traditional education. What we look for is professional communicators. So people that speak very well, people that are very well written and can communicate a story. So when it comes down to all of it, really communications and public relations comes to storytelling. Our job is to look at a business and figure out how to tell their unique story and mission so other people care about it. When you go back to the currency of all media, it's attention. So you want someone's attention so someone can advertise and make money on the back end, and someone can make money from the content, but it all stems from attention. And the only way to get attention is to tell a very strong story. I'll give you an example. One of our clients is a flooring company, and what we did was we positioned them as interior designers, and they talked about the spaces they were creating, and they grabbed attention with the beautiful designs, and we were able to get them national coverage because of that. So you take a very basic company who does vinyl flooring and you put them into an interior design category where people do actually care, and there's a lot of attention in that space. Now, as that communication professional, what we look for is not just that education, but the ability to understand businesses and tell the story that matters most to them. So that's something that's learned through experience, and you get that a lot from entrepreneurs or people that have had a few different jobs or even internships where they really get to understand a business. And I personally, as a smaller firm, only having about 70 employees, we like to find people who have worked for smaller businesses because usually they're scrappier. They have to work a little bit harder. We've worked with publicists from Disney and SeaWorld, and they're way more used to someone just publishing what they say to publish because they're a massive company. Their story is basically that they're big and they're doing something and they're going to get attention because they're going to back it with a whole bunch of money. And that's really easy to do. But if you have an entrepreneur who's making six figures and has a very small business and they're running a service and there's similar services like that, how do you take that story of that individual and pitch it in a way that gets them national attention and gets them on the cover of Forbes? Things like that are much harder to do. One of our clients, Bottom, we were able to help position their founder as this expert who grew their business through COVID, and the individual ended up getting Forbes 30 under 30 because of the communication that we helped put together. We highlighted their successes, and we really highlighted this individual around their business and their growth, and we built this story about how they're engaging their audience, and their advertising is really cool. But it all was about understanding the business first, understanding how to communicate to that business, and then pulling out that story from those business owners, because a lot of them are not marketing focused. They're focused on a product or a service, and that's how they've gotten so good is they built this really great service or really great product, but they didn't understand how to tell their story. Myself, I always use someone to write my bios and my personal statements because they interview me, they ask me questions, and they write it because I don't see my own story. And that's something that's very common. Is it's way easier to see someone else's story. I can look and say, hey, well, you're a published author, you're a speaker, you've done $25 million in the last X years, you have a team of X, Y, and Z. So all those pieces, but people forget all the accomplishments. It's kind of like looking at someone who's growing up. You don't see the changes over time, but if you look at a picture from 5 years ago, you see that change and you can tell the story of their life. So as a communications professional, what are we really looking for? It's silly, but it's good communication, but not what you would think. Again, it's that storytelling, and it's understanding how to communicate with the clients so that they can find those stories and then position that story that other people care about it. So grabbing attention, that's really the key. Do I think that you need a college degree in communications or public relations? Absolutely not. We typically hire writers and journalists, people that came in from broadcasting. We do hire direct from university as well, but usually they have a unique internship experience and can tell us a really strong story. So in that interview, if you're applying for a job, make sure you're able to communicate your value and communicate the value of campaigns you run, because if you can't tell us the story, the case study, and make that be impactful, I don't believe that you're going to be able to do that for our clients. So that's things to look at when you are trying to get into this career. And then make sure that you understand that the space is adjusting, and social media and all those other platforms are going to become a critical piece of it and continue to be a critical piece, influencers, things like that. And you have to view those people as media as well, just because they a lot of times have the ability to bring in more attention than even a national TV placement. So just understanding how the space is growing, understanding how to tell that story, and then as you're telling stories, make sure you can tell the story about the stories told, which is just a case study. So say, be able to explain how you had that success. Now, I mentioned that flooring company getting on to national publications, and that's great. That's a piece of the story, but what is the other piece of that story? How did that business grow? I didn't mention that they got new investors. They were able to open up new facilities. You know, their revenue doubled because of the placements. The CEO retired. They sold the business. They got funded. You have to tell the whole story and make sure that it's impactful for who you're talking to, and make sure that you're communicating that to the right person in the right audience. If you guys are interested in becoming a publicist, we're always looking for top talent. There's probably a link somewhere around there. If you're trying to just learn a little bit more about the space, we actually are giving away a free article down below. So at very least, you can build a little bit of your press presence and get that started. Make sure to subscribe. Thank you.